Okay, so here we go. I thought I was done with part 5, but here's part 6. And this is going to be a 2-for-1. I'm going to deal with 2 different ones here just to show you something. Again, I'm continuing to show you the real underlying problem behind this. And one of the difficulties is that they've tried to fragment, I'm saying they, meaning the enemy, they've tried to fragment these people up in different ways, so that you've got non-Christians and Christians who are experiencing this or feel like they're experiencing it. You've got some who acknowledge all the multifarious theories, and others that say, no. You know, and then they try to just, you know, I don't know, like this guy here, he's commented on the channel, our channel, and he says, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you haven't researched it, and he's slandering me right and left. I've researched it for, wow, I mean, I can't even tell you when I first researched it over a year ago, you know, and I have dug in deep in this, and I have listened, and I've tried to understand. When I first ran across it, I thought, wow, maybe something really is going on. You know, when they mentioned CERN, I thought maybe, because I was worried about that too, about CERN, that they're playing with things that they don't understand. And they could actually end up destroying, you know, at least this part of the universe inadvertently. And that is a real concern of mine with it. That's a real concern. But the things that they are saying and spitting out from CERN are only Hollywood science. It has nothing to do with science. It's science fiction, not even science fiction, it's even fantasy. There's no connection between that and CERN and what's going on there. Or that fake video about them doing a human sacrifice at the Shiva statue there. There is a Shiva statue there. It was donated by an Indian scientist. And yeah, that's true. There is a Shiva statue there. That doesn't mean that they all worship Shiva at CERN, just that this Indian who did donated it to them, and they didn't turn it away. They really should have. But let's go ahead and dig into this. I don't know his name. And he has a son who first alerted him to the Mandela Effect. He mentions it in this video. And so I'm not revealing any personal information that's not already here. This video is about geography. And what he does is he goes through, it looks like it might be the Google Earth or something. And he's using this program to look at the relationship and shapes and positions of land masses on the planet, and in relationship to his memory of it. Well, there are many problems with that. The first problem that anyone who's done any kind of studies in geography, geology, astrophysics, any of that, they will realize that you're dealing with the issue of cartography. Cartography is a science, okay? And that is, how do you represent land masses on a 2D surface? And you say, but it's a 3D surface because it's a globe. No, it's a 2D surface. It's your monitor. It's being represented on your monitor. If you had a globe here, then it would be a 3D surface. And then that's a whole nother issue. How do you keep the shapes of the continents the right shape and size in relationship to each other, and also the positions correct? This is extremely tricky. No one has solved this. No one solved it. You have different methods you can use for portraying it for different purposes, but there's no uniform solution for it, okay? This is what's so interesting. And so what you end up getting is, depending on which kind of projection you use, which method you use, you'll have sometimes distances between land masses, like certain land masses at certain latitudes, the distance will be not the right proportion to what you've seen on other maps. So you'll find that. Also, as you move up, right, towards the top, you may find that they're more correct. More often than not, the ones closer to the equator are more correct, and then as you move to the top, it gets harder to represent it. Okay? So it's based on the latitude. The longitude doesn't affect it, but the latitude affects it. Okay? So when you try to take the skin off of the Earth, you know, off of a globe, and lay it out flat, you've seen where it's got kind of orange slices shape, right? And they're all connected across like this at the equator. You've seen those maps a long time ago, maybe. You know, those are older maps. That's one solution. And so when you lay this onto a globe, those parts at the top that go like this, they fold perfectly, touching each other around the globe, and the tips of those join right at the North Pole. So all they've done is they've literally ripped it off of the globe, you know. And in order to lay it flat, they have to like cut, and then what happens is it ends up being shaped like that, like an eyeball sideways. So that's one solution, and that was the best solution they had for a long time. But now you've got people who are computer engineers who are trying to do it, and most of them don't have a background in cartography. I mean, like a technical, professional background in cartography. So programmers are notorious for thinking that they are God, and so they think they can just go on the internet and learn anything by reading an article, you know, or two, and then they think they're an expert at it. They come back and apply it in a program. So that's what's going on here, and Google is not exempt from that. Google hires those programmers, those populate Google. So that's what you've got going on here. So sometimes, yeah, something might seem too close, you know, or too far away, or a little bit in the wrong position. Not dramatically in the wrong position, though, right? So, for example, you see right here, he's showing Sicily and Italy, and they seem too close. Well, they are close. They are physically close. But, yeah, this represents it like much closer than the maps used to represent it. That's true. But that's due to a difference in the methodology of cartography. Okay, so I want to put this in between just to show you a few different maps so you get an idea of the problem that I've been talking about. This is a Mercator projection right here, and it's clickable, so you can click and it'll zoom in. But I want you to pay attention to Alaska, the size of it, the size of Greenland, the width and length. Pay attention to where South America is located. And look, the central line of South America is east of the United States. It's not even lined up with the coast, the east coast. It's east of the United States in the ocean. Okay? It's like, it may touch on Maine, maybe, you know, but more like Nova Scotia. So that's really far over, and the far western edge of it is lined up with Florida. And that's how it's always been. Now, I know that some people want to picture them as straight above, up and down of each other, but they're not. So then you've got Africa, and that changes shape and length especially in a lot of these maps. Check out here Iceland. Now, where's Svalbard? Well, Svalbard's way up here. Who cares about these islands up here? No one ever pays attention to them because you think, well, no one lives up there, right? But people actually do live on Svalbard. But it's way up north of the top of the Scandinavian territories. It's up there, and it belongs to Norway. So, but people just don't pay attention to those. That's why you can miss knowing about those. You know, if Santa Claus were going to be somewhere, probably he'd be on Svalbard, you know, or Greenland. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at the next one. This is a Mercator projection. So this was made in like the 17th century. Here's another one. This is done by satellite imagery and then an artist blending things together, etc. So we don't know what's accurate, what's not, but you can see it looks like it's the edge of the Earth. Looks like we're looking over the top of it like that, you know, that we're not looking straight down on Greenland. All the stuff up here we're not looking straight down on. We're looking at an angle at it. Whereas here at the equator we're looking straight down at it, and down here you get this perception that we're looking at an angle as well. So this is the fault of this map. It makes it seem like you're looking at a 3D projection, but it doesn't give you an accurate comparison in area of the different places, or even locations. You know, distances and things like that are distorted. So you can see there. And Australia has the bay cut out of it, come on. And there's New Zealand, like comma off to the right. And there's South America, the far western part of it is lined up with Florida. The central meridian of it is out in the ocean. You know, and look how close it is between Africa and this horn here in Brazil. That's why Brazil developed faster than any other place here in South Africa. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now this one's more like what a lot of us are used to seeing. Look at Greenland. Okay, there's Greenland. There's Svalbard up here. And then here's Iceland. And look at Alaska. Alaska here looks longer and narrower than over here. See here? It looks almost square here. But when you get over here, it looks elongated. Compared to this one is just all weird. Okay? But this one even is elongated and like that, and it's also tilted. It's at an angle, like, rotated a little bit. And that's because if you look at the longitudinal marks, they arc out even more out to the edge, and when you get to the center, they're straight up and down on the zero, which runs through Greenwich, England. So that runs straight up and down right here, and as you move out, the arc of that longitudinal mark gets bigger and bigger till you get out here. And so that's supposed to kind of, take what's on a sphere and project it onto a flat surface. Look at Australia. You've got that piece cut out, but with the words in there, and also that coloring of the light around it, it gives that rounded shape that he was talking about. And that's probably what he saw. He saw maps like this, where that bay is kind of obscured by words in it, some text, and then maybe a lighter color for a shallower part of the ocean. Yeah, probably. That's probably what he saw. New Zealand is definitely down to the lower right. So, why he's projecting it up over here is beyond me. Of course there are a lot of islands up here, but it's not New Zealand. And then you've got Madagascar, which is pretty large. It just doesn't look as large at this distance. Like I said, Svalbard's up here. No one would care, right? But you look at this distance between this cape and this cape, between Antarctica and South America, is very close. But this distance here is very, very far. And this is far also. So those are the things to notice here on the map. There's Mongolia right there in big purple, contrasting with China. China's not so small. It's just you can't see it so clearly on the globe that he's looking at because of there's no color contrast going on. Russia's the largest landmass country in the world. It's 1/5 of the landmass of the entire Earth. So now when we compare these two, they're exactly the same. It's just a difference of this one is giving the relief, like the height, the elevation. Right, you can see the mountain range here that goes all the way up here. You can see the mountain range here, the Himalayas. You can see the Rocky Mountains that go all the way up here into Alaska and down all the way, this mountain range goes all the way down along, and people actually hike all the way down. That's one of these things people do. Here's another projection, and you see Greenland is tiny this distance compared to how fat it is. Svalbard's way up here, again, no one would notice it. There's the cutout here in Australia. There's New Zealand. And Africa's a little longer and narrower, seemingly. This is a farther distance here than in the other one. The west coast is not quite with Florida. It's a little too far to the left, it seems. But when you actually look between the longitudinal lines, it's not. It's actually, in terms of longitude, it's lined up with Florida. But in appearance, it looks like it's a little to the left. The meridian of this looks like it cuts, it's the same there. So anyway, in Mongolia is kind of obscured here and blended in with China. So you can understand there. But he says the Koreas, to him, seem like they should be down over here. Well, no, of course not. North and South Korea are up here. They have a border with Russia. And that point where China, Russia, and North Korea join is called the Tri-Point. It's a famous place. So anyway, you get that. Here's Antarctica. Looks huge. That's because it's cut up and spread out like that, instead of being in a circle like this. Now when it's spread out like that, it looks much larger. And so this doesn't give an accurate representation of the Earth. Then we get over here, and you can see the difference here. Look at Greenland. Watch what happens. See that? Tiny Greenland here squashed down. Now it's like, like wings coming out here at the top. Alaska looks square again. This is lined up again with Florida. This is a little closer. You've got, what else? The cutout here, right, is a little more obvious because there are no words obscuring it. But there's little New Zealand down there like the comma it is. Svalbard is green, kind of blends in up here, so you don't really notice it. So anyway, you can see, and the proportions, there are a lot of distortions in here that are happening. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Now this is a very, very, very old map, and this is split into two hemispheres. This was made, I think it was in the 17th century. And that's how they dealt with it. You can even see here, even at this distance, is cut out in Australia. So there's no excuse, come on, man. There's no excuse. And look, even though they didn't have North America mapped out, they still had South America as sticking out over here with Florida here, and it's like even farther from Florida, right? So even back then they knew that. Now this is the weirdest one, where the guy is trying to counterbalance for ethnocentrism. He's trying to counterbalance for the Eurocentric and American-centric world, that we dominate the world. And so, I mean, not in landmass, but, in terms of productivity. And so what he's doing is he's trying to make it look like, Africa's bigger and more threatening, and South America too, and Asia. He said Asia as well. Those countries deserve a better chance in the world, and so we're going to make them bigger in this. And no, of course not. That's absurd. He copied this method also from like 200 years before him and claimed it was his own, and it wasn't. So anyway, there you see it. The representation of these things can differ radically, from map to map. And what they put on the map can obscure. Like here, it's hard to even notice this cutout here in the horn, because of this dark blue behind it. It's not a big contrast because the top of this is a darker green, whereas the rest of it is this tan. And that's due to the fact that there's more vegetation there. All right, so that's all right, but still the contrast is not good enough to actually be able to see that. Here it blends in together because of what I said. So you can see that there are plenty of distortions, there's obscuring, all kinds of stuff. So it depends on which maps that you were using in your life as to what you're going to remember. That's not due to some sort of rip in the fabric of the universe, or I'm from another timeline and you're not, All that's doing is dividing us. This Mandela Effect thing is trying to divide us. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, because we had the Tower of Babel, where God caused confusion among the languages in order to divide them. So this may be something like that. I was just talking about this with someone recently. And so Mandela Effect could be something like that. I think I've been talking too much. I'm going to have to get into this. We've been doing 7 minutes and just talking. All right, so let's go ahead. I want to really get to the part on Australia. So let me just pause a second. I guess I'm going to let him talk about Italy for a minute, because he says that his people are from Italy. He must be Italian-American. So
next I want to talk about Italy. I don't remember Sicily and Italy almost touching one another. Seems like they were further apart. I mean, it looks like you could throw a rock across here now. What is this? Maybe... Look at these little boats here. I mean, this is just, I don't know, a couple miles?
Yeah, you can throw a rock a couple miles? Come on. Talk about exaggerating. When you're exaggerating, then you can make the difference between your memory and reality seem even bigger than what it really is. And so that's what he's just done, inadvertently. I'm sure he's not aware of it. He's using just, this metaphor, not a metaphor, hyperbole, right? You could throw a rock across it, which we say across something that seems so close, much closer than what we're used to. But the problem with using that hyperbole is it is an exaggeration. And that is not what you want to do when you're addressing the Mandela Effect. You do not want to exaggerate. The inaccuracy of what you say undermines what you're saying, your statement in this case, because this is all about the differences. And if you're going to exaggerate the differences, then why should we trust you? We can't trust you to fairly, accurately represent what is real. So you undermine yourself, and he does that repeatedly in this. Like he says, where's the North Pole? North Pole's never been marked on a map unless it's for a 5-year-old. He's saying, where's the North? There's no land there. It's just the Arctic Sea. Yeah, that's how it's always been, because it freezes over. You might see on a map that it's all white, but it's just ice. It is the Arctic Sea, and it says the Arctic Sea. Antarctica, on the other hand, has landmass underneath it. This is due to ignorance, not paying attention in school, and he criticizes people who say that at the beginning of the video, saying, oh, I don't want you commenting, telling me that I'm ignorant or I didn't pay attention to school or that Americans are notoriously bad at geography. But we are. We are notoriously bad at geography. Where's Poland? I want you to tell me where Poland is. It's in Europe. Okay, but where in Europe? It's in Eastern Europe. Okay, it's in Russia? And then you start to think, hold on a minute, is it in Russia? No, it's not in Russia. It's not in Russia. It's just east of Germany. Germany and Poland share a border. And the north border of Poland? What country is on the north border of Poland? Write it in the comments. Pause the video, write it in the comments. What country borders Poland on the north? It's a trick question. The Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea is the north border of Poland. All right, unless you get all the way over past the Baltic Sea, you've got a little thing of Russia. It's like a little city there. This is part of Russia. Russia owns it. And then what do you have? Lithuania. What? Right. Okay. So anyway, that's what he says about, let's let him talk.
You zoom out and, pretty much looks like one landmass. So, I don't know. I remember looking at this a lot. My ancestors come from here. I remember thinking how it would be if this boot kicked the ball here as a kid. Looked like a boot kicking a ball. I don't remember the ball sitting on the toes. Just doesn't look like how I remember.
And notice how he says his ancestors came from Italy. So it kind of lends a little bit of authority to what he's saying, right? And the fact that he was looking at, every kid looks at Italy at some point in their life. Yeah. And they're told, yeah, see, it's a boot. Oh, yeah, it is a boot, The boot. Oh, yeah, the boot. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a ball. Yeah. So what? Everyone does that. But it tries to lend credence to him knowing what it should be like. They all do this. They say how much they looked at this or how important it is to them because of their family or their history or their heart or all of these things. It's all personal experience. They're trying to exalt their personal experience above reality. And when it comes to the scriptures, they're trying to exalt their memory and their personal experience above the scriptures. Okay, let's keep going. This one made me laugh. This one made me comment on it, actually.
Moving on down, I wanted to talk about, before I talk about that one, let's look over here real quick. And we'll look at China. This here, Mongolia, I don't recall, I know, I've heard of Mongolia, but I don't recall it being its own huge country like this. Seems like China absorbed it. I remember being part of China, not its own separate country.
Oh, gosh. Sorry, Moneybags, if you're watching this. I am laughing at you. Yeah, I am laughing at you. I'm sorry. But I have to. Because who on the planet would think that Mongolia was absorbed by China and was part of China? Who? You just said that you knew it was his own country, but you thought that it was absorbed by China. Oh, gosh. You contradict yourself. You say two opposite things, and you don't care. You know what that makes you? I know you're not going to like this. You're going to get angry at me. But the fact is the fact. It makes you a liar to yourself. You knew it was a country, but you thought it was absorbed by China. You knew it. Before you saw it on the map here, you knew it was a country, but you thought that it was part of China. It was absorbed by China. And is it a country or is it absorbed by China? You knew it was a country, but you thought it was absorbed by China. No. If you ever looked at a map, you would see Mongolia as a country. If you ever in your life looked at a map, you would see Mongolia as a country, which tells me you never paid attention to details. You didn't. And that's what this shows. And that's a huge detail. If you didn't notice a country the size of Mongolia on the map there, then all of this other stuff doesn't matter. Because if you're missing that, which is not even a detail, that's like a major country. It's like size-wise, it's a major country. And you're missing it from your memory? None of this other details that you nitpick about matter. But let's go on anyway. We already know that your memory is so faulty, it's laughable, it's ridiculous in terms of geography.
And China looks a lot smaller now. It's almost...
China looks a lot smaller now. Now, understand that some of this is that he's looking at a projection onto a globe that is supposed to be going away from you here. Now, if you know anything about perspective in terms of art, then you'll know that this part of China is bigger than what it looks right now because it's off on that part of the globe that's receding away from you. So everything that goes along this globe, the farther away it is, the closer it's crunched together because it's going from this to like that. See how wide my hand is now? It's very, very thin. But see, you don't really see it that way. But if you measure it like objectively, it's only this thin. See? But when I bring it back out, look at the difference. See? That's what we're talking about. That as it's going on the globe and it's going around like this, see, it's turning like that at an angle from you until it's at it like, see, like that, and then it disappears around the back. And so as it goes around like this, the angle of it is changing. And so the objective size of it is diminishing from this to this, to this, to this, to this, to nothing. See? And so it's shrinking down to nothing. So this part of China is not objectively the size that it really is. Only the part that you're looking directly at. That's the problem with trying to look at maps projected onto a 3D surface that is then rendered on a 2D surface. All right, let's keep going.
Almost the size of the U.S. I remember being much larger than what I recall now. All right, so now for the big one. Well, Madagascar looks bigger too, before I get to the big one.
Everyone says that, yeah.
Looks bigger than I remember. Okay, here's the big one. Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand further south of Australia. I remember New Zealand being in the Ring of Fire. So the Ring of Fire comes right here along the west coast of the United States.
Ring of Fire goes down to South America too. He's mistaken about that.
Alaska, comes up here around Japan.
It is up
The Ring of Fire comes down, and I remember New Zealand being here.
No. Papua New Guinea's right there. How can New Zealand be right next to Papua New Guinea? How can it be right next to Papua New Guinea? It's always been here where Tasmania is here, New Zealand is here. It forms a triangle. It's always been there. It's never been up here.
But kind of
the reason why people misplace things is because they're not important to them. There's no significance for New Zealand for him at that point. Lord of the Rings probably hadn't come out yet. You know, once Lord of the Rings came out, then everyone knew where New Zealand was. Before that, no one knew, no one cared. They knew it was somewhere around Australia somewhere. They didn't know where.
the northeast side of Australia. It's way south. It's way below Australia. I remember Australia being down here.
No, because there's Antarctica. There's Antarctica. How could Australia be right next to Antarctica? It's part of Southeast Asia. It's like right here against Papua New Guinea. How can it be down by Antarctica?
I don't remember.
It's got tropical here. It's got like some tropics up here in Darwin. They've got hurricanes that hit here. He knows nothing about Australia, and he didn't care about it, and therefore he has a faulty memory of it. I know. The same thing happened to me with certain places. that I didn't care about, and so I didn't care to remember any of the details or even big general things about it.
Like 100 miles from Papua New Guinea?
Yeah. It's
and
close.
I don't remember this shape at all.
Yep.
The shape of Australia looks so odd to me.
Yeah, that's the shape of Australia. This peninsula that sticks up. Very important peninsula.
Huge.
Most of us don't know anything about this northern shore. We don't. Most of us don't know anything at all about this northern shore. We know about this area down here that's the most populated, or we might know about Perth over here on the west coast, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's got great surfing, it's beautiful, the white, it's either white sand or really, really close to it. Beaches along here. They've got camel rides where you can camp out on the beach. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. That's the Indian Ocean right there, for those of you who are terrible at geography and admit it.
Chunk taken out of it.
No, it's not out of
And
it.
it seemed more rounded.
Yeah, that's your memory. Your memory, rounds it out, so it doesn't have to remember that detail. That's how our memory works. It tries to generalize things so that we can take in more, because if we have to remember more details about each of those items, that's a lot more information. And so if it's not an important thing, we don't remember it. And it's not important to know that there's that bay up there in Australia. It's not important. It was just important to know that it's like a kidney shape.
Now, I've seen threads of people talking online on Reddit and stuff where
Listen.
people from Australia and New Zealand are saying, you stupid Americans, I've lived here my whole life, blah, blah, blah. Well, obviously, they're not affected by this Mandela Effect. They're not seeing the changes, but...
See, they don't see the changes because they're not affected by the Mandela Effect, so they're blind to the changes. Yeah? So, again, this is what I said. That no matter what evidence or proof you give them, whether it's testimonies of millions of people who live there, or it's showing on all the maps around the world that it has this cutout bay in the top, or New Zealand is there, doesn't matter. They'll say, oh, that's just part of this universe. Oh, they're not part of the Mandela Effect and part of our universe. Well, then go back to your universe. Leave us alone. Let's see you do it. Huh? Or did you forget that I'm the one who brought you here? And you still don't know your purpose for being here. Just kidding. Just kidding. Or am I? Let's keep going.
I've been looking at this my whole life. I always thought it was, all the rest of the world was so far together, was close, and then Australia was just so far down here on its own, with nothing around it. But New Zealand, which was up over here, and Tasmania, which even kind of looks odd, just chipped off like this. That could have always been that way.
Now he's admitting that his memory might be faulty. Oh, Lord, help us from these people. Help us from these people. Lord, if you're doing something to separate them off and prove that they hate truth, do it. If some of them might be saved, Lord, use us. In Jesus' name. So he admits here that no, maybe it was separated off, that it looks weird being chicked off like that, and it should have been connected. Tasmania is not an island. It's always been an island. And it does have a Tasmanian devil. Yeah, there really is an animal called the Tasmanian devil. Yeah, there really is. Okay, so his whole life, which he sounds like maybe he's 30 or 40, I guess 40 maybe. And it's hard to tell. These American men tend to, like constrict their voice so much that they sound like a little boy. And the girls do it too. It's annoying, very annoying. All right, just be a man, okay? Talk like a man. Stop talking like a little boy. So he thinks that his whole life, his entire lifespan of 40 years or whatever, trumps the millions of people who live in Australia. Oh, well, I say millions. It might just be a million. Let's have a look at the population. Okay, so you can see. 25.5 million people in Australia and New Zealand who all remember the shape of Australia. Even at this size, you can see that cutout bay at the top. Even here, you can see it. How can you miss that? Well, you miss it because Papua New Guinea is right above it, which kind of your mind fills in that. That's what happened here. There it is. Okay? And if we zoom in, I guess there's not a name to it. I thought maybe we'd find a name to it. I don't know the name to it, if there's a name at all. You know, this might be so far apart that there's no name to it. Well, it's about 350 to 400 miles apart. So probably this is, I don't know if this is called a sound or a bay or what it's called. But the New Zealand has always been down over here like this, kind of like a comma. So there's no reason to think anything different than that. And the distance, I was surprised too when I first looked at a map down here, and I looked at the distance from Australia to Antarctica. I thought, whoa, that is huge. Well, I said miles, I'm in kilometers here. So it's about 350, 400 kilometers across there. So, but when we go down here, look at the size here. This is like, what, about almost 4,000 kilometers away from Antarctica. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big difference. Then when we get over here, look at the distance between South Africa and Antarctica. Now understand, this is the landmass of Antarctica. Okay? But when you've got the sea freezing around it, it's a lot closer. But the closest is right here. You know, and if you know anything about geography, you would have been able to guess that this would be the closest to Antarctica, is right here from the southern cape of, I don't remember the name of the cape, you know, but is it Cape Verde, I think, or I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to guess. I can't remember. So when you cross here, you know, this is the shortest distance between the landmass of Antarctica and any other continent. And Antarctica is a continent. Okay? Notice it doesn't say South Pole. It's never said South Pole. Now maybe some maps do, like really, really, really old maps, or maps for children will definitely have the North Pole on there. But when we get to the North Pole, you see here, there's no landmass up here. There never has been. And that's a problem that they correct in junior high school or even 6th grade, really. In 6th grade, you know, you talk about the size of the sun, relationship to the planets, you know. You also look and see there's no landmass up here. You talk about geography. You know, it's just all ice and it's frozen over. So that's what it is. And he doesn't remember this island here, Svalbard. Okay? Well, that's his problem, you know, because it's always been there. You know, or he says, oh, Greenland seems a different size. Yeah, because that has to do with your projections of maps. On some maps, the way it's projected, Greenland seems gigantic. You know, it's just like you go down here and you look and it just like sprawls out. But not on this map, right? And on some maps, the United States looks tiny, like 2/3 this size. And he was surprised that South America was off over to the side like this. Well, yeah, it is. In fact, it is. You know, and then he was surprised at how close this is. Well, if you take any history class that deals with the trade across here, you'll understand. The development of Brazil was very important due to this short distance here. So, yeah. And if you take history classes about the Western Hemisphere or South America, you'll learn that. Or about Africa, you'll learn it. So, yeah. Those are some of the things he was pointing out. Let's go back to his video. I just want to continue to watch a little bit and just hear a little bit.
I don't remember that. But I remember New Zealand being up here. And I remember Australia being way down here in the middle of the ocean, away from everything else. So the fact that it's slammed up here against East Asia, it just looks so odd to me.
So he's still insisting that he's right and they're wrong. The 25 million people who live in Australia are wrong, and he's right. 25 million people with memories, and many of them living longer than him. Some of them shorter, but others longer, but they actually physically live there. So it's important to them. Those details are important to them. And who's this American? What does he care about Australia? Even if he did care about Australia, he's just one man with a memory, and what? Compared to 26 million people, 25 million people with memories. On par or better than his. And they have a dog in the fight, if you want to say it that way. You know, this is important to them. That's their home. And yet he still insists that he's right and they're wrong. You may say, oh, he's not insisting that. He is insisting that. Because he keeps emphasizing that. He keeps going back to that and claiming, oh, no, I remember it this way. I remember it this way. And he says, I remember it, but he still says it in order to try to get you to remember it that way. Or to get you to agree that, yeah, that's not right. You know, that's the whole point. And especially since he's calling it the Mandela Effect. It's not a Mandela Effect in this case. It's a faulty memory. That's all it is.
Now, I've seen threads of people talking online on Reddit and stuff where people from Australia and New Zealand are saying, you stupid Americans, I've lived here my whole life, blah, blah, blah. Well, obviously, they're not affected by this Mandela Effect. They're not seeing the changes. But, well, obviously, they're not affected by this Mandela Effect. They're not seeing the changes. But
I've lived here my whole life, blah, blah, blah. That shows how much he respects people who actually live there, who physically know what it's shaped like. Well, obviously, they're not affected by the Mandela Effect. There is no Mandela Effect. That was a term created by someone who is a self-acclaimed paranormal consultant in 2010. Really? That's who you want to follow? That's who you want to agree with? You don't think that she may have put a spell on you? Yeah? You don't think so? Oh, there are no such things as witches. No such thing as black magic. No such thing as magic. No such thing as spells. Good luck. All right, to the next one. Now, this next one is about Scripture. He or she, I guess it's a she maybe, is underlining this verse everywhere and showing where this is everywhere. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Now, how many of us have heard this? I'm sure all of us have heard this, phrased exactly word for word like that. Because it's everywhere. You can see here. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. All right? This is another person writing about this. Lord Jesus clinches this point. If ye abide in my word, then ye are truly my disciples, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. This is someone typing. So, this doesn't prove that this was in a Bible. This just shows that someone used it that way. All right? That's how they quoted the Bible. cspan.org. And someone said in this meeting, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
Misspoken on the Bible. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. It'd be very interesting.
Okay. And then here, you've got the quote here, also exactly the same way, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Okay? John 8:32. As it was in your Bible, as it was in your Bible, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. As it is today, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay? You're saying, hold on, I remember the first one. It can't be that. See, this is what they do with this. This is what the spell does. Then she does this kind of thing, I'm your servant in Christ Jesus, folks. No, you're not. You're undermining the confidence in God's testimony. You're working for the enemy. You're not working for Jesus. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you what's there. Here's the Bible Hub. Now, we don't know that that's what's physically in these Bibles. Plus, some of them keep revising the content, like the New International Version. They've come out with so many different New International Versions over the years. I remember mine was 1979 or something like that was the publishing date. So we can only take their word for it that this is what those versions in particular have in them. But okay, let's run with it. Let's just scan down here and see how many of them say set and how many of them say make. set. Make. King James Bible. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Make. New King James Version. Set. Make. New American Standard Bible. And you will know the truth. Make. New American Standard Bible, the earlier version. And you shall know the truth. And then this one is, who knows, set, amplified, that's why, amplified. Set, make, American Standard Version, ASV. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Set, make, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. English Revised Version, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Good News Translation is set, make, Literal Standard Version. And you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Set, make, New Heart English Bible. Make, Weymouth New Testament. Make, World English Bible. And make, Young's Literal Translation. And there are more that you can look at. So, and we can do that. Just hit add translations, additional translations, sorry. See if that will just open it. There we go. So now you can just look at like classes of them, like modern, classical, and literal. Okay? So if we look at the literal, we see make, set, make, liberate. So even they can't agree on what it's supposed to be. Over here, King James Bible. We don't know which King James Bible because there were many of them. Make. There was also a difference between the Oxford and the Cambridge King James. So there's make, New King James make, King James make, set. This one's called a faithful version. This is a classical translation. I've never heard of it, so we're not going to count that. The Darby Bible. Oh, that's real reliable. Yeah, the pre-trib rapture Bible. Set. Make. So all of the reliable classical Bibles say make. Okay? Will make you free. And when you look over here at the modern translations, set. NASB, of course, says make in two places, two versions of it. This one said set. So now you know where it came from. It was a putting of the word set into one of the old English type of worded Bibles. That's all it is. It's just a superimposition. Because make you free is like forcing you to be free. That's the feeling of it. Will make you free in modern English. But set you free is like giving you the freedom to be free. See? And so that's more gentle. That's why it's more palatable to the modern ear. And that's why we've superimposed it back onto the King James. So that's easy to explain. Now let's go ahead and look at the Greek, though, and see what the Greek has to say about it. What exactly is it in the Greek? And I've looked at that. So Dewey Reams, yeah, that's the Catholic Bible, says make. And set in the other one. So even they can't agree. Here's the verb. And if we click on this number over here, it'll bring up the Strong's entrance, right? Eleuthero. And this, don't look here. Go all the way down here to the bottom to Strong's Exhaustive Concordance and ignore this because this is what they've said here on the site. You need to look down here. Well, this may actually be in the printed version. I doubt it, though, because some of these are really wrong. But it says from Eleutheros to liberate. Now let's go ahead and look at that one. All right? Eleutheros. Well, that's not right because this says from this. Well, there's a semicolon there. So they're saying that this means to liberate because this is the verb, right? So it has to be to do something. So this one they're saying is to liberate. Let's see what this adjective says, though, where it says it's from. Right? We go down to the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance and we look just end here. Forget that. That's interpretive. Probably from the alternative of erchomai. Unrestrained. To go at pleasure. That doesn't mean to go commit sin, or to fulfill the lust of the flesh. So this is an older English phrase. It means to go at your will. That you desire to go, you can go. That's what it means. Unrestrained means that. It doesn't mean unrestrained in that you can do anything immoral or moral, doesn't matter. No, that's not what it means. And so it means to be freed to come and go at your will, not someone else's will. So you can come and go, you're free. So that's what it means. So how would you translate that into English? Make free, set free, or liberate? I think liberate. I think that would be a more accurate translation into modern English. But we're not here to discuss translation. We're here to discuss memory and how something like that can happen. Well, also, when everyone feels like set you free sounds better than make you free, because that sounds forceful, and how can you be forceful about someone being free? See, it just logically doesn't make sense in our head in modern English. And so set free is what we would gravitate towards. Absolutely we would. And since all the modern versions, except the NASB, say set you free, well, it's very easy to reword those into the older English, and you shall know the truth, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And ye shall. We only have to change 2 words there, ye and shall, to make it sound like Old English. And we do that all the time. We do it even with phrases that aren't even biblical. When you're writing and you see, when you're reading and you see someone who has written something and they put it in the Old English type of ye and shout and all that kind of stuff, well, that's what we can do very easily in our head as well. And that's where that came from. And so many people feel the same way about it because we all share the same sense about those words. So that explains it right there. It's very easy. And the geography one, wow. I can't believe he would be so arrogant as to think that his memory trumps 25 million people's experience of living there. So you see how problematic this is and how different each and every, instance of it is or can be. But you need to just hold fast to what's there. And that means you need to keep reading your translations of the Bible and keep in them so that you really know what it says and you don't forget. And you don't sloppily blend things together or alter things according to what is your sensibilities. May the Lord bless you as you seek Him with all your heart. Remember to subscribe down below and like the video and share it on your Facebook and other social media. And then make a comment, whether a question or a comment. We read all of them and we try to respond to all. Get on over to our website, The Rooted Word, and start reading the translation and also the articles that we've posted. It's at therootedword.com, therootedword.com. And may the Lord bless you as you seek Him with all your heart.